WDET is supported by the College of Business Administration at University of Detroit Mercy. UDM's Master of Business Administration is designed to accommodate the career needs of professionals across a variety of work organizations. More information at business.udmercy.edu.
On 101.9 WDET FM, I'm Tia Graham.
And I'm Kerry Jr. II. Today on the program, pro-Palestinian encampments cause Wayne State to go remote. We have reporting of the protests from WDET's Amanda LeClaire.
But first, on the Metro, there are countless exports from Detroit that often influence the world. From music to sports to the auto industry, the city of Detroit helps move the culture in one way or another. There is proof of that could be found in the fashion industry here. The 12th Michigan Fashion Week event begins this Wednesday, and this year's theme is Glamour Cloud and features local and national designers and fashion houses. Loren Hicks is the founder and CEO of Michigan Fashion Week. I just want to say thank you so much for joining us on the Metro.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having us.
Yay! So I attended the 12th Michigan Fashion Week final showcase last year. It was so much bigger and so much grander than I thought it would be. I don't know what I thought it would be, but it felt like being in like New York Fashion Week. It was Michigan Fashion Week. So I instantly put that into my mind when I thought about this year. How much bigger are you going to get, especially being at the Godfrey Hotel?
Yeah, so that's definitely our goal. We want you to feel like you're in New York, Milan. We don't want you to feel like you're in Detroit, Michigan. So this year, how we even came up with the theme Glamour Cloud is we're going to be at the 7th floor of the Godfrey Hotel. So we're doing like this thing. We have like an internal saying of the 7th floor takeover. So Glamour Clouds, we're going to be in the clouds, full of glam, looking over Detroit on the 7th floor of the Godfrey Hotel. So that's just going to be super exciting, breathtaking views, and it's just going to be a beautiful atmosphere.
And the Godfrey Hotel, of course, had so much history, so much just history in the city of Detroit. And I think about just the glamour of it all, the glitz, the elegance of it. So if you could expand on bringing that glitz, glam, and elegance to the city of Detroit.
Absolutely. So the Godfrey Hotel is actually located in Corktown. And from what they've told us, that Corktown is the first kind of town in Detroit. So, of course, it has that vintage feel. It has the historical feel. And the Godfrey Hotel itself is just a beautifully built hotel. It's brand new. I don't even think they've been around a year yet. But once you step into the Godfrey, it's just a glamorous place to even go. Yeah. So I just love the Godfrey. As soon as I went up there the first time, I said, oh my gosh, how cool would this be to have a fashion show here?
That is so cool. So in its 12th year, you've been doing this for 12 years now. What are you seeing right now within the fashion industry, especially in Detroit, that is continuing the growth of Michigan Fashion Week?
You know what? I'm seeing a lot of talent just rising up to the top. A lot of people may not show their fashion talent or may keep that hidden, but as we just cultivate the fashion culture here in Detroit more and more, people are just coming out their shell. They're rising to the top. They're doing what they love. If they love to fashion, if they love to design fashion, if they love to model, if they do fashion photography, we're just really giving them the space to really be creative in their talent.
And, this past year as well, just going through everything at CCS, the College of Creative Studies, seeing their student showcases and seeing all their other giant showcases that they do at the end of the year. I think about the young people as well that we're seeing coming up. You talked about that a little bit, but it's the young people and the passion. What passion are you seeing right now from the young fashion designers?
So they're just so creative in their own right. And that's another one of our goals. I want to keep those young people here in the state of Michigan. I don't want to see them going to New York or LA and visiting Detroit, over the holidays. I want them to actually stay here, keep their talent here, and really find a career here in the state of Michigan, let alone Detroit. So the young people are super talented, and it's just so cool to see how they're really setting the trends of style throughout the world.
They really, really are. To see there's so many different things they've been able to pull in from different eras and different places and spaces and kind of make their own trends now. So it's really great to see. Right now we're talking with Loren Hicks. She's the founder and CEO of Michigan Fashion Week. And we're talking about, bringing young people in, making sure that they have what they need. Part of the ticket sales for this Michigan Fashion Week will go to the Fashion for Progression nonprofit. Can you go ahead and explain what that is?
Yep, that's a nonprofit we started last year. And this nonprofit goals is to really just keep the art of sewing, crocheting in the hearts of the young people. So right now we're doing Saturday classes to teach young kids how to sew, how to crochet. And also from there, we look to give sustainable fashion. We look to give clothing to the homeless, to just make sure we're not being wasteful as far as like clothing and making sure we're doing the right things with it. So that's our overall goal, is to really just keep the heart of fashion alive in the young people.
And right now there are so many industries right now. I can't think of the name of it, but there are things that are happening within the fashion industry in terms of textile and manufacturing.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
And so hearing you say that, I think about bringing those things together into one place. So if you can expand on that as well.
Yeah, Detroit is the perfect place to be the host of manufacturing, let alone textile manufacturing. I mean, we have the infrastructure we have tons of warehouse spaces, and I think it's just going to take a collaborative effort to really get that going and get that started here in Detroit. But Detroit is the perfect candidate to be the next capital of fashion manufacturing.
We have the space. We
Absolutely.
Truly do.
Absolutely.
We come from that background of manufacturing anyway, so you just would think it's primed for it. But
Absolutely.
You began this journey when you were in your 20s. What have you learned about the industry now?
Oh my goodness, I never had anyone ask me that question before. Yes, I started in my 20s, and what I've learned over the years is just fashion is $1 trillion sector, and I just want Detroit to get their fair share of it. And I see it happening more and more year by year. But we really just have to continue what we're doing and growing that entire industry here in the city of Detroit by having events, meeting people, shaking the right hands, and to really just stay by our word of really getting that committed here.
Yeah. And Detroit is also known not just for fashion, not just for the auto industry and music and all the other exports, but it's also known for being a place where mentorship happens and mentoring happens.
Absolutely.
And pulling one up from behind and bringing. So when you think about some of the things that you're seeing now, and of course, like you said, you've been you started in your 20s, you've learned a lot. What are some things that you wish you knew about the fashion industry that you didn't know then, but you know now?
That's a good question. I think, the fashion industry. I think just the overall, just the change of the fashion industry, how it happens. New trends are happening, new things are happening, and just really be prepared for change. It changes with the economy. People are buying clothes. People are not buying clothes. People are buying this type of clothes. People are not buying that type of clothes. And really being intuitive to the changes that happen season after season, year after year with the fashion industry. Just kind of, if I knew more about that, I would have done some things differently, but I'm learning as we're going. So yeah, just lots and lots of change.
One of the things that I've noticed over the years that's changed is I'm trying to think of the words for it, but just the catering to men's fashion as well.
Absolutely.
You've seen an increase in that. You've seen different designers come up. You've seen just men taking real pride again.
Yeah, that's something new too. Yeah, back in the day, men used to just care about maybe going in the grass and coming in and hide the house and not really giving too much thought on their fashion. But nowadays, especially with the young people that's coming up, they're really taking into account of what they're wearing, how they look, how it's fitting. So men's fashion has definitely evolved over the last decades by a lot. And men are becoming more fashionable. They're starting to really think outside the box and not be afraid to wear colors and different styles. So it's definitely evolving.
It's great to see everyone expressing themselves
Absolutely.
with fashion. It's so great. But before I let you go, give us a preview, of course, of this week, what people can expect and where they can find more information.
Yeah, so find out all the information right on our website, www.michiganfashionweek.com. We have our kickoff event coming up this Friday at the Lit Bar on Woodward. We also have a plethora of events next week, from our media day to the Somerset Marc Jacobs event. And then we're going to have 2 full days of fashion shows. So go ahead and go on our website to see our schedule and just make sure you just come out and be involved and have a good time.
Yay. Loren Hicks is the founder and CEO of Michigan Fashion Week. Thank you so much for joining us on the Metro.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us.
Metro on 101.9 WDET FM. And, Carrie, we were just talking a little bit about men's fashion,
Yes.
and I think about you, who are a pretty fashionable guy.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, I do like trying to wear brighter colors sometimes. I'm tired of all the blacks and the grays. Got to shake it up a bit,
Yes.
Textures, all that kind of stuff. So, but
I always say,
tell me more about my fashion.
fashion is art, and that's the way you express yourself every day, especially when you're, you just want to be confident, show off and show the world how creative you are. You do it with your fashion. So
I might have to pull up to this fashion week. It sounds pretty dope. I've seen it before, and I've been intrigued, so this might be the time.
Yep, you walking in, Carrie, they're giving you a job.
This is The Metro. I'm Carrie Jr. II, filling in for Nick Austin. You just heard from Tia Graham. Wayne State has moved to remote operations due to an encampment from pro-Palestine student activists. We'll hear more from the WDET newsroom.
Welcome back to the Metro here on 101.9 WDET FM. I am Tia Graham here with Carrie Jr. II, who's in for Nick Austin, who is up at the Mackinac Policy Conference with the WDET team. And now, Carrie, this is a story we've been following at WDET recently. You and the Created Equal team were following college campus protests. Now, which protests have you all zoned in on?
Yeah, on Created Equal, we discussed the Columbia University's administration's response to the encampments on their campus several weeks ago. Similar to a lot of colleges around the country, they've seen pro-Palestinian encampments and the encampments that protest the U.S. support of Israel in the war on Gaza. And that war on Gaza is a very personal issue for a lot of Metro Detroiters, of which many have family connections to the region. We spoke with two guests. It was Shika Dalmia. She was the president of the Institute for the Study of Modern Authoritarianism, and Dr. Sophia Rosenfeld, the chair of the Department of History at the University of Pennsylvania. And I just have a quick quote for her. She said the students get a bad rep in the press, and that the students are trying to feel their way through these issues in a very nuanced way. So we had a little brief conversation. It's also relevant to us here in Detroit, too.
Yeah, it is. Just, speaking about that, Wayne State University is operating remotely today, as we told you, citing what it calls an ongoing public safety issue. Pro-Palestinian protesters have refused to dismantle their encampment until they meet with university leaders. WDET's Amanda LeClaire is following the story.
The encampment began last Thursday night after approximately 200 protesters marched across campus, demanding that Wayne State University divest from Israel, certain defense contractors, and end law enforcement training programs with the country. Wayne State President Kimberly Andrews Espy sent a school-wide email over the holiday saying the encampment raised fire safety concerns. Another university official visited the site, declaring that protesters must dismantle the encampment before Wayne State officials would consider meeting with them. In response, protesters posted on social channels that they were preparing for law enforcement arrival. One activist told WDET News they'd received word from multiple outside sources that police would take action in the coming hours. Huwaida Araf, a well-known civil rights attorney and Palestinian-American activist, was at the encampment. She emphasized that the protesters are peacefully exercising their right to free speech.
From what I see, the students are not violating any kind of policy. Of course, university can set certain restrictions. They are not harming anyone. And so to restrict them or prevent them from being here and exercising their freedom of speech is just unnecessary, completely unnecessary.
Araf says she has concerns that police action will result in violation of the students' civil rights. I'm Amanda LeClaire, WDET News.
We'll keep an eye on this developing story throughout the week.
This is the Metro. This is the Metro on 101.9 WDET FM. I am Tia Graham here with Carrie Jr. II, who is in for Nick Austin, who's up at Mackinac Policy Conference. Have you been?
I have not been to Mackinac Policy Conference. One, I'm curious to know what goes on there, but I do know you've been.
Yeah.
You went, when, last year, was it?
Last year.
What'd you think?
Number one, it was my first time on the island, so that was just an experience in itself. It was just, taking the ferry, doing the whole thing was just an experience, and it's in the fly, whatever those mayflies or whatever that is. So that was something.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what those were either, but they were everywhere. But, just experiencing the island and then going up there and meeting all those who are the change makers, the policy makers, those who do influence what's happening in the city of Detroit and Michigan, to be completely honest with you, just being in those rooms and listening to them and seeing what they want to bring back to Detroit and to the state at large was really, 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 really interesting.
Heavy hitters up there for sure.
Heavy hitters. I knew for a fact, I said, I got some things to do. I got life to step up
get
on.
to work.
I know. But this week on Mackinac Island, some of the state's top decision makers, elected officials, businesses, and nonprofits will assemble for the annual Mackinac Policy Conference. The Detroit Regional Chamber puts on the conference, and this year's theme is Bridging the Future Together, focusing on issues like attracting businesses and jobs. WDET is on the island in full force this year. We'll present live coverage on Wednesday and Thursday this week during the 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock hours, and all things considered. We'll have 4 hosts on the island: Stephen Henderson, Shana Roth, Nick Austin, and Russ McNamara. Before hitting the road, our counterparts got together to talk about what they're keeping an eye on at this year's conference.
Russ, Nick, Shana, we are getting ready for the Mackinac Policy Conference, something we do every year up north on Mackinac Island. It's a way to bring all kinds of people together who don't always see each other in person in order to talk about our state's problems in a way that, I don't know, maybe yields some different ideas or different solutions. I'm just going to go around the horn here and ask each of you what you're excited about. What do you see that's on the agenda or that you hear is happening that you are just really jazzed up for? Shana, I'm going to start with you.
Well, for Mishmash, we have some interviews scheduled with some really exciting people, including Attorney General Dana Nessel. I always enjoy talking to her and hearing about the latest coming out of her office. We'll also be talking with Speaker of the House. We'll be talking with Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist. And, I mean, that's in general what I always look forward to at Mackinac, which is the idea that there are all of these people that you normally will spend months and months trying to get like 5 minutes with. They're just wandering around.
Right, just grab them.
It's my first time going, but I'm really excited for the opportunity to just in line to get some coffee, just start tapping people on the shoulder and being like, hello, you have nowhere to go.
That's
you can
right.
either have your caffeine and talk to me, or you can go without your caffeine.
Just sit here, put these headphones on. It'll take you 5 minutes. It won't hurt at all. Russ, what are you looking forward to?
I just want to see what the dynamic is with everybody. Last year, it was my first Mackinac, but everybody was super relaxed, very open and forthcoming. Of course, now we're in a presidential election year. There's a huge Senate race going on. And I don't know if, the rhetoric will kind of amp up or people will just maintain their state of relaxedness, I guess. Will they still be as chill as they were last year? And that's kind of one of the themes, but
I was going to say, Russ, you're not really playing along with the theme, which is like bridging together or something like that, right?
I know. And, I don't know. It seems like that could be a theme every year, though. There's been a lot of that. I mean, 4 years ago, that's what Joe Biden ran on. So here we are again trying to bridge that divide.
Yeah. Nick?
Well, last year was the power of and. This year, like you mentioned, Stephen, bridging the future together. So this togetherness thing seems to be an important thing that's going on here. I think of the policy conference, as Shana already mentioned, the ability to speak to all of these people from different parts of Michigan, different divides on the political spectrum to get together. And we have things we're trying to do here in Michigan. So one of the things I'm looking forward to, solving the Michigan housing crisis, right? Something we talk about. What are the action steps to do it? Again, growing our economy. We had the Growing Michigan Together Council. Now's an opportunity 1 year after it's been put together. It was announced last year at the conference. Let's take some steps to see where have we gone, what action steps are we moving forward with. So these are the types of things I'm going to be looking forward to getting into.
Yeah. So the city of Detroit always takes somewhat of center stage up on Mackinac, at least for a bit. And I'm really interested, I think, in what the discussion will be like around the recent news that for the first time since 1957, the city's population appears at least to be growing. The census officially says that the population is growing. There's been a lot of debate about how important that is, who deserves credit, who deserves blame. I just think the fact that it's happening, the idea that for the first time, in most of our lives, certainly in mine, that the city's growing instead of shrinking.
I certainly know who's going to try to take credit for it.
I know who has been trying to take credit for it. And in fact, I'm actually having a conversation with him on stage this week, and I imagine he will want to direct the conversation in that way.
And you, Nick, mentioned, trying to solve the affordable housing crisis. That was Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan's big thing last year was, this land value tax, and it went absolutely nowhere in the year since.
Yeah. I mean, he's had a hard time getting it through the legislature because of a lack of the ability to get the Detroit delegation on board is what the word is. That and other cities who also want to have that ability as well. So, one of the things I will be talking to the mayor about is how much affordable housing we have been able to build, especially in the last 5 or 6 years, but why we still have this huge gap, right? It's affordable from a certain point of view, right?
Yeah, right.
And that's not necessarily the point of view of the pocketbooks of the people who need it the most. Okay, we're all headed up to Mackinac Island for the Mackinac Policy Conference, and we're all going to be broadcasting from the dining room of the Grand Hotel both days of the conference. So I'll see you guys up north.
That was WDET Stephen Henderson, Shana Roth, Nick Austin, and Russ McNamara. WDET's Live from the Mackinac Policy Conference starts this evening during All Things Considered, Wednesday and Thursday during the 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock hours, plus special episodes of the Mishmash podcast. This is The Metro.
This is The Metro on 1019 WDET. I'm Kerry Jr. II, filling in for Nick Austin, and I'm joined by Tia Graham. Coming up, we'll talk with 2 Wayne State researchers looking into the impact of synthetic chemicals on male fertility.
This is The Metro on 1019 WDET FM. I'm Tia Graham.
And I'm Kerry Jr. II. A team of Wayne State researchers has been looking into the effects of PFAS on male reproductive health. PFAS are a group of 15,000 different synthetic chemicals known as forever chemicals. That's because they are difficult to destroy. They can be found in things like nonstick cookware, food packaging, and waterproof clothing. Assistant Professor at Wayne State Institute of Environmental Health Services Mike Petriello and Professor of Obstetrics and Gynecology Richard Pilsner, along with other researchers, found that exposure to the forever chemicals in men can lead to adverse birth defects in their children and potentially future generations. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency also recently set new drinking water standards to protect communities from PFAS. So to discuss their findings and how we can avoid these chemicals, we're joined by Professors Mike Petriello and Richard Pilsner. Welcome to the Metro.
Great to be here. Yeah, it's really exciting.
Thank you. So I kind of gave a brief definition of what PFAS are, but can we get from either of you, Professor Petriello, what are PFAS for the common person?
Sure. You may have heard of them considered forever chemicals, because that's exactly what they are. Once they're manufactured, they're in our environments forever. They're found in our bodies. Every one of us in this room, on the radio, have these compounds in their blood, and they're circulating at very high concentrations. You may have heard of other compounds such as pesticides or phthalates or these type of pollutants that are also really terrible. But PFAS are at magnitudes higher concentrations. So they really are the number one deleterious toxicant of our generation.
How prevalent are PFAS?
Everywhere. So they're found in things from as crazy as flossing for your floss to your nonstick cookwares for like Teflon coatings.
Right.
They're found in your Scotch Guard for your upholstery. They're found in your clothing. So it's impossible to stay away from them right now.
So how do they get into our drinking water from all those?
So there's lots of different sources of that. They're manufactured, so they're actually dumped into our environment. It's just very recently, you may have heard that EPA is going to start looking at these under the Clean Water Act. So hopefully that'll stop. But so there's the industrial reasons. It's actually found in the atmosphere too. So some of these PFAS can actually be found in the air. So they're all over the place.
And how prevalent is it in our drinking water in Michigan? Do you know?
Yep. So compared to other states, we know that Michigan is a definitely highly exposed area. They're found in our surface waters. There's tons of research going on right now about fish in the Great Lakes.
Okay.
But even our municipality water, it's found. And like you said, there's like 15,000 of these different compounds. We're only looking at maybe 40 or 50 of these.
Okay.
And the EPA limits are only for a handful of them. So we don't have a really good idea of the total body burn in us as well as in the ecosystem.
Oh, wow. Okay. And so I'm going to shift to you, Professor Pilsner, in terms of how it affects male fertility. So we get PFAS in our system. What happens to us?
Yeah, we're just starting the studies on this right now. We know that PFAS could interact with the hormonal systems. That could cause changes in spermatogenesis, things like that. My lab studies the preconception period. So that is the window of time where a sperm cell develops. And that usually takes about 3 months. It's about 74 days. And there's a whole slew of different morphological changes that happen. The spermatogonias start as this very round cell, and as it develops, it grows a tail, right? So there's just a lot of these changes that are happening, and we've shown that some of these chemicals, PFAS, Mike mentioned phthalates as well, can interfere with these kind of molecular tags that are on DNA. And that's what my lab studies is the preconception effects on sperm epigenetics and how that leads to reproductive success.
Okay. And so does that mean that you are less likely to be able to reproduce? How does that lead to, what is the actual effect, tangible effect that someone will experience if they were to actually get the full impact?
Right. So our study examined offspring health and development. We actually found no changes in the reproductive success of the mice exposed to PFAS.
Okay.
What we did find was that Mike's work previously has shown that PFAS is associated with cardiometabolic disease. Excuse me there, Mike. You should be the one talking on this one. And what we've shown is that male exposure to these PFAS chemicals resulted in higher cholesterol, liver cholesterol in male offspring.
Okay.
So this effect is really derived from the male factors, and some message in sperm is kind of programming or directing the trajectory of health and development in the offspring.
In the actual offspring. Oh, okay. And then Professor Petriello, did you have anything to add to that? Did Pilsner cover it all for you?
Yes, he did a great job. But there are other human studies linking PFAS to reproductive outcomes, for sure. Just in our mouse study that we did at Wayne State, we didn't really focus on that, and we didn't observe much.
Okay. So how do we avoid PFAS?
Well, again, it's ubiquitous.
Yeah.
So whether it's in our diets, our water, our air, it's extremely hard.
Okay.
But again, it's kind of a success story to talk about. So the EPA is going to start looking at these chemicals, coming up with contaminant levels that municipalities have to reach. So levels will start to come down even more than they have in the past decade. So it's a success. We think about that. But in all of us, we have these compounds now. So what can we do to decrease risk, decrease exposure, That's really what we need to start thinking about. And so if you have Teflon-coated pans that are starting to get scratched, maybe it's time to bite the bullet and go buy some new ceramics or something like that. But again, a lot of this has to be done at the municipal level. So we need a lot of help from like infrastructure bills and the government to really put large investment into decreasing it for the whole city of Detroit, the whole state, and the whole federal U.S.
And just to clarify, when the EPA sets regulations and what you're talking about the city stepping in is limiting the amount of products that are produced for people to buy that have PFAS in them? That how I understand you correctly?
Yeah, so a lot of that's going to be at the consumer level. So I think it's my job to kind of educate the consumers.
Okay.
Just be like, do I really need PFAS in my athleisure wear?
Okay.
Do I really need it in my dental floss? Versus maybe firefighters really do need it in their gear. So a lot of it is, do we really need this contaminant in the specific use that they're in? So that's at the consumer level. The municipal level, the federal, the state, they're really looking at it. How can we do the most help for the entire population? And that's probably at the drinking water level at this point.
I see. Well, Professors Mark Petriello and Richard Pilsner, thank you both so much for joining us on the Metro. Appreciate your time.
Yeah,
Thank you.
This is the Metro on 1019 WDET FM. You just heard from Carrie Jr. II, who's in for Nick Austin. I'm Tia Graham. And the forecast today will start the week off with cloudy skies, a high around 70 degrees. There is a chance of rain today. Tomorrow, another cloudy day with highs of 68. Thursday, expect a high around 70 degrees, but sunny skies. And Friday, sunny skies with a high around 76 degrees. Now, Carrie, there are so many things that have been happening in Detroit. We're going to continue to see so many different things that are happening in Detroit, but movement ended this weekend.
Oh, boy.
Now they're starting to set up Grand Prix.
Right.
I'm driving down Jefferson. I see a sign that says, it's closed.
Traffic for days.
It's closed. Don't go this way.
It's been a busy season for Detroit.
It truly has. So this first week of June, you'll want to avoid Atwater for Rapel to Hart Plaza. That one always gets me. Bates from Jefferson to Atwater. There are so many other listed here. Go to the City of Detroit website so you can see a full list of all those closures. Those closures are from May 31st through June 2nd. So it's going to be to June 7th. So it's going to be there for a whole week. So be prepared for that if you do plan on traveling to downtown Detroit. And we do have a conversation coming up right now.
We sure do. Our conversation coming up is going to be about what do you think about how streaming has changed watching sports?
Yeah.
And do you watch the Detroit Red Wings or the Tigers?
Yeah, actually, I do. I'm one of those people who watches the Lions, the Tigers, the Red Wings, the Pistons, and the Pistons, Tigers, and Red Wings are all on Bally Sports.
They're all on Bally Sports.
And
yep.
yeah, you see what happened to Bally
We've
Sports.
seen what happened. There's a contract issue with Comcast, so you can't watch them live.
Yeah, so I haven't seen a Tigers game all year. I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, I know it's been an issue, but we're going to talk about that on the Metro coming up after the break here on WDET. It's 1019 WDET. I'm Carrie Jr. II, filling in for Nick Austin, joined by Tia Graham.
On 1019 WDET FM, I am Tia Graham.
And I'm Carrie Jr. II. So, if you are a Tigers fan and a Comcast subscriber, like Tia said before the break, you've probably been a little frustrated this season. I mean, it could be because the team is struggling to crack 500 in winning percentage, or it could be that Diamond Sports Group, the parent company of Bally Sports Detroit, was not able to reach a new contract with Comcast. In fact, the MLB commissioner is considering nationalizing baseball's television rights, according to Evan Drellich, senior writer at The Atlantic. As a result, people who may pay for Comcast can only see a black screen when trying to watch Tigers games. And Tigers fans aren't the only ones being left in the dark. I see you over there groaning. You feel it. It's just not Tigers fans. Diamond Sports Group carries games for a dozen Major League Baseball teams. So to help us understand what's going on here with Bally Sports Detroit and the future of baseball's broadcasting rights, we're joined by Evan Drellich. He's a senior writer for The Athletic and author of the book Winning Fixes Everything on the Houston Astros cheating scandal. Evan, welcome to the Metro.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here, Evan. A lot going on here with broadcasting and sports. Just start off right off the bat. Why can't Comcast and Diamond Sports get on the same page here and come to an agreement so we can watch Tigers baseball?
Yeah, and I hear you guys talking about it, and the idea that you can't watch a game all season is just it's really too bad. These things happen occasionally, where you have a carriage dispute, where a channel and a distributor, so Time Warner Cable, Comcast, Spectrum, it could be DirecTV, any of those major companies that you sign up for the cable or satellite service, they get into a fight over money, and that's what this is. It's always a fight over money. It's never anything besides that, really, at the end of the day. What's interesting about this situation is that Diamond, which as you guys point out, is the parent company of Bally, the channel you would watch the Tigers games on, is in a bankruptcy proceeding. They're trying to get out of bankruptcy and avoid liquidation.
I see.
But if you're going to present a viable plan to a court, you need that carriage agreement with Comcast. You need that in place, and it also needs to be sufficient enough that you can say, yeah, look, we're going to have enough money coming in that we can sustain our business on a go-forward basis. So, it's not – there are long-term implications for the baseball and sports media rights landscape that arise from this dispute. Normally these disputes are kind of isolated to some degree, but there are bigger implications here.
So it sounds like Diamond Sports Group needs Comcast for their bankruptcy. Now, what's the Comcast reason for being hesitant to engage with Diamond Sports?
Hey, Comcast for some time now has taken an approach that we're just going to pay less for these rights, and they have walked away from other RSNs. It's in line with what Comcast has tried to do elsewhere. It's a reasonable opportunity if you're them to try to pay less. And one of the central issues here is tiering. So sports teams in general are being moved to premium tiers. You're not getting them as often with basic cable as you used to, which is good and bad. It means that if you're a customer who wants those games, you're probably going to have to pay more. You're going to have to upgrade. But if you're a customer who was already subscribing to basic cable and you don't care about the sports teams, well, now you're not paying for something you don't care about. So there are two sides to that coin.
So then as a viewer, Evan, what's the value of either a regional sports network or a national sports network?
So one of the things that's being talked about in baseball, this is, and to be clear, this is a long way off, but it's something that is being talked about, is whether instead of every individual baseball team controlling what it does with its rights, it would be baseball's central office. So baseball's central office would say, all right, Tigers, you're going with Bally this season, instead of the Tigers retaining that control. And part of the idea there is you would get to a point where you might have a single package that you could subscribe to. It might not be the only way. You could probably still sign up for cable and get the games normally. But wouldn't it be nice if you're in Detroit and you could sign up for a package that exists today called MLB TV, but in market you're blacked out. You cannot watch any team that is in your market through that package. So wouldn't it be nice to remove those blackouts? Baseball's trying to figure out ways to do that. There's a lot of contractual haranguing that needs to be worked through to get there. And there would also need to be agreement amongst baseball's owners, and that's a group that historically has not always agreed with each other.
Right, okay. Now, has the MLB had a response to the conflict between, or the disagreement between Comcast and Diamond Sports?
Yeah, baseball in court, the commissioner's office, lawyers representing the league, called it profoundly harmful. And what's interesting is often the leagues will try to stay out of this a little bit, when the RSNs and the cable companies are fighting. But all three of the NBA, the NHL, and MLB, all those leagues have games carried by Diamond Sports and those Bally channels, have been critical of Diamond here. And Yeah, that again goes back to the larger implications. If Diamond emerges from bankruptcy but looks like it's an unsteady company, well then, you're going to be going through some sort of drama, even as a fan, wondering, all right, well, what's about to happen? Is Bally about to go away? So the question of does Diamond emerge and do they emerge with a plan that can really work is still to be answered.
I have one last question for you. You've got about a minute left, Evan. What about the future of sports broadcasting? I know you've written about MLB's package deal with Roku, the NFL on Netflix. What are we looking forward to going forward in terms of streaming and how these broadcast deals are going to get hashed out?
Yeah, not to be too dramatic, but in the world of sports media rights right now, we're kind of at the moment of the Big Bang. Everything is up in the air, and there's a lot of reformation going on, and we're just not sure. We're seeing different big major streaming companies get together. It's just unclear whether at some point there'll be some consolidation where it just becomes easier for fans, because I think right now everybody, including the leagues, not that they're doing anything about it, but they recognize that it is difficult to figure out where to watch a given game, and it is changing all the time, and that is frustrating.
Yeah, it's like a puzzle piece nowadays. Evan Drellich, thank you so much for your time. Evan Drellich is a senior writer for The Athletic and author of the book Winning Fixes Everything, the book on the Houston Astros cheating scandal.
Thank you, guys.
Metro on 101.9 WDET-FM. You just heard from Carrie Jr. II. I'm Tia Graham. And Carrie, I think about, everything that we just heard from Evan. And, the Tigers do play tonight. If you don't have that subscription to anything, you won't see them. But the Tigers are opening a 2-game series against the Pittsburgh Pirates at Comerica Park. So do watch out for those delays or slowdowns, especially if you're headed to that Midtown area. But this is the Metro, Carrie.
This is the Metro. I'll be looking at those games after the recaps on Google.
Exactly. No, exactly. So entering in our next guest, we have another festival that's happening because Metro Detroit's known for festivals, coming together, community. And, are you one of those people who lives a meatless life? Well, this weekend, there's a place for longtime vegans or those who are new to the plant-based lifestyle. Veg Fest is happening, put on by Veg Michigan, and this is 23rd annual Veg Fest happening at Eastern Market this weekend. To talk more about the annual event and why it continues to grow, we are joined by one of the organizers, Kim Corona. Kim, welcome to the Metro.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
23 years. 23 years. When did the idea come to fruition? When did it start?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. So we started as a small nonprofit organization. We've been around for 25 years. And, we just thought a lot of people might be interested in learning more about this. And what better way than to have a fun festival that's just really welcoming and inclusive for people to come to. And it started off very, very small. And every year it's grown. And the last 3 years we've been at Eastern Market. And it's just been amazing to be there. It's such a historic place. And the staff there, the crew there is amazing to work with.
That's one of the reasons why I reached out, because I saw the growth. I continue to see the growth over the last few years, especially moving into Eastern Market. It just continues to grow. You see more and more about it throughout social media and just in the media in general. So I think about, just like you said, inclusive, diverse. I think about, oftentimes being a vegan or being vegetarian or plant-based life has one image, one picture of who it may be or who that community may cater to. So talk about how this festival helps show cultural representation.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that. If you come to our Veg Fest at Eastern Market, you will see how diverse the food is and the people who are interested in trying it. When you come down, you will have the opportunity to try Indian cuisine, Nigerian cuisine, Spanish cuisine, Italian cuisine, Cajun cuisine, and on and on. I mean, any Mediterranean cuisine. I'm sure I'm leaving some of them out, but there are so many different kinds, and there are people from all these different backgrounds who own these different different restaurants who are trying to bring plant-based to such a broad community. And, we just want people to know, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. So like if you're just veg curious and you want to try it, we want to make it accessible and equitable for everyone to try. And that's why admission is free.
Veg curious. I love that because I dabble in and out of being veg curious where I say, well, maybe I can do a meatless Monday, or maybe I can do this to try to slowly take myself away from a meat-heavy lifestyle and bring it more towards a plant-based lifestyle. Kim Corona is one of the organizers of Veg Fest that we're talking about happening this Sunday, June 2nd at Eastern Market. And we just talked a little bit about diversity within the vegetarian, vegan space, plant-based space. How much has you seen that grown, especially in Detroit and Metro Detroit, doing this for 23 years, with the diverse peoples that are here in this space, in this area, and how it's continued to grow? What else have you seen over those years in terms of that growth?
Yeah. So I think that there's always been, like, many cultures all around the globe are very plant-centric, the food, if you kind of look at the origins of different foods. And I think part of the issue is just a lot of people haven't had the voice or the space to get funding to have their own restaurants and have more plant-based options. And so we really like to elevate so many of the restaurant owners and food truck owners and specialty food products of people of just diverse representation, so that those places can get recognized and seen. And then the more diverse places that you have, the more people see themselves in those products and in those foods. And so then they're like, oh, this is for me too. So this is a space for everyone.
Yeah. So speaking of accessibility, is vegan food more expensive to cook now, or have we seen it kind of even itself out a little bit with what we eat regularly?
Yeah, so this is a question that comes up a lot. So on our YouTube channel, vegmichigan.org, if you go to our YouTube channel, we have some cooking demonstrations that show plant-based on a budget, because we recognize that's a real concern that people have. And if we're eating like more whole plant-based foods, we can do it a little less expensive sometimes. I mean, I recognize, though, that sometimes people are living in a food apartheid area where, it's like I only have maybe a corner store and there's not really much access to anything healthy. But, like if you are able to get bulk lentils, that's really inexpensive. So if you're doing some of those more whole foods like bulk beans, then it's a little more affordable. Then they do have some of the specialty products. Those are sometimes a little more expensive. So I say try to find a balance with what works for you and also why you're choosing to eat more plant-based. So if you're really concerned about chronic health conditions like heart disease, type 2 diabetes, certain types of cancer, you want to try to eat more of the whole foods. And if you're saying, hey, once in a while, I want to have something that's like I'm used to, like I like going to a barbecue, so I want to have, a burger, I want to have potato salad, then you can have some of those specialty products. So for me, those are like sometimes foods, they're a little more expensive, but because I eat them less often, that's kind of how I balance. So it's just finding your own balance that works for you.
So before I let you go, give us the details of Veg Fest and what people can expect this year.
Yeah, so we think that we're going to have around 10,000 people this year. So it's going to be a really fun party. We want you to come on out. Like I said, it's free admission. Part of that is because we're a member-driven organization. So thanks to all our members who help to give us funding so that we can make this free for anyone to come by. It's Sunday, June 2nd from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We're going to have cooking demonstrations and educational talks, because a lot of people tell us, like, why plant-based eating? Like, why are you talking about that? So we're going to have some informative talks about some of the benefits of eating more plant-based. And then also some people are like, okay, I want to eat this way, but how do I get started? Like, it's new, it's different for me. So we're going to have these amazing cooking demos. Q Borden from Cooking with Q, she's our local celebrity from the kitchen, right from Detroit. We have Chef Dunny from Vegan Baddies, who's going to be doing a cooking demo, and Chef Rhoda, aka the Platinum Chef. So we have some really amazing cooking demos. They're all going to be making different things. If you come to a presentation or a cooking demo, you get a free giveaway after. You get a free plant-based ice cream and one other free plant-based item.
Free, and free. Kim Corona is one of the organizers of Veg Fest. Thank you so much for joining us on the Metro. One more time, Veg Fest is this Sunday, June 2nd from 10 to 4 p.m. at Eastern Market, Sheds 5 and 6. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you so much for having me. Y'all are amazing.
That's the Metro for Tuesday, May 28th. You can listen to recent episodes episodes online at WDET.org, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube.
The show is produced by Sam Corey, David Lyons, and Jack Philbrandt. Our engineer is Nate Bender, and our assistant producers are Anel Scott and Sydney Walik.
This Metro is a production of WDET, a listener-supported service of Wayne State University. If you like what you hear and want to support the Metro, consider becoming a member at WDET.org/donate.
This is WDET-FM, Detroit Public Radio, your connection to news, music, and conversation. Thanks for listening.
WDET is supported by the College of Business Administration at University of Detroit Mercy. UDM is offering a new master's degree in ethical leadership focused on sustainable, ethical, and inclusive problem solving. More information at business.udmercy.edu.